respected viewers, beloved listeners, dear family of dreamers. Thank you for being here in this quiet moment of reflection, ambition, and possibility. Sit with me for a while, and let's talk about the small things, the simple daily habits that can quietly reshape an entire destiny, because sometimes wealth doesn't arrive with noise, it arrives with whispers. Before I share these 5 habits, let me begin with something that may stay with you for the rest of your life. There comes a moment, sudden, silent, almost invisible, when a person realizes that their future isn't waiting somewhere out there. It's forming right now, in the tiny choices, the quiet disciplines, the invisible sacrifices no one else sees. Wealth doesn't fall from the sky, it gathers slowly, like drops of rain forming a river. And sometimes, destiny watches you for years, waiting for the day you finally become the kind of person who can carry the weight of abundance. Success is not an event, it is a transformation. And wealth, real wealth, begins in the mind long before it appears in the bank. Now, let me take you back to the earlier days of my financial journey, a time when life was anything but easy. I remember sitting at an old wooden desk late at night, the bills stacked like silent mountains. I had ideas, dreams, ambition, but very little direction. Money slipped through my hands like sand because my habits were weak, unfocused, and inconsistent. I wanted wealth, but I wasn't living like someone who could be trusted with it. Everything changed the day I realized this truth. You cannot pray for a millionaire life while living with a $1,000 mindset. So I built 5 habits, simple, almost ordinary, but I repeated them every single day until they rewired my entire financial destiny. Let's begin. Habit 1. I fed my mind before I fed my ambition. Each morning I spent time in silence. No noise, no rushing, no chaotic thoughts. Just a slow, intentional moment where I allowed myself to think about the long term, about the person I wanted to become. Most people chase money with restless energy, but the wealthiest people I've met, they think clearly, they think slowly, they think deeply. I remember a small story here. A young man once told me he wanted to start a business but felt confused about what to do. I asked him, "How many hours a day do you think deeply about your decisions?" He looked at me as if I'd asked him for the moon. Most people spend more time choosing what to eat for dinner than planning their financial future. Clarity is a habit, and I practiced it daily. Habit 2, I made 1 financial improvement a day. It didn't matter how small it was. Some days I read a page from an investment book. Some days I reviewed my spending. Some days I tested a small idea for a business. Some days I learned a new skill that could raise my earning potential. I treated wealth building like brushing my teeth, something too simple to skip. And slowly these tiny improvements compounded. One day I realized I wasn't living in survival mode anymore. I was building momentum. There is a sacred power in doing 1 small thing every day. 1 small improvement can save you from 10 future mistakes. Habit 3, I learned to delay the desire for now. There were moments I wanted to spend money I didn't need to spend. Moments I wanted quick profits, fast results, the dopamine of feeling successful, but real wealth demands patience, uncomfortable patience. I once invested in a business that took 3 years before it made a single penny. During those years, friends told me it was a mistake. They mocked the slowness of it. They wanted instant results, the kind that vanish as quickly as they come. But I held on even when it felt foolish, even when fear whispered in the dark. And in the end, that slow, steady investment gave returns that changed my life. Delaying gratification isn't about being frugal. It's about protecting your future from your impulses. These were the first 3 habits, the daily foundation that shifted my mindset from scarcity to strategy, from survival to leadership, and everything that came next. The money, the freedom, the investments, they were built on this foundation. Habit 4. I studied wealthy people more than I studied money. This might surprise you, but in my journey, the greatest lessons didn't come from balance sheets or investment charts. They came from observing people, because money doesn't grow. People grow, and then money follows them. Every day I made it a habit to study those who were truly wealthy, not the flashy ones who pretend to be rich, but the quiet ones, the patient ones, the builders. I watched how they thought. I watched how they made decisions. I watched how they handled fear, loss, and opportunity. There was a man I met early in my journey, calm, humble, almost invisible in his simplicity, yet he owned more assets than everyone in the room combined. I once asked him, "What's the real secret of wealth?" He smiled and said, "The secret is that there is no secret, just disciplined people doing simple things longer than everyone else." That sentence became a daily meditation for me. I repeated it on the days I doubted myself, on the days my investments moved too slowly, on the days my business felt heavy, on the days patience felt like a punishment rather than a virtue. And slowly I adopted a truth the wealthy already understand. If you think like the rich, act like the rich, and learn like the rich, eventually you'll live like the rich. Habit 5, I protected my time like a rare investment. This habit alone elevated my entire life. Every single day I asked myself, where is my time going? And is that place worthy of my future? You see, money lost can be earned again. Opportunities missed may return in another form. But time, once spent, is gone forever. So I created a rule. Anything that didn't push me toward my goals, anything that drained my mind or weakened my discipline, I gently removed from my life. No arguments, no guilt, no hesitation. I stopped spending hours scrolling through meaningless distractions. I stopped engaging with people who lived in a loop of complaining and negativity. I stopped giving my energy to activities that felt urgent but not important. And I replaced all of that with discipline, learning, creation, and quiet thinking. The result? I became the kind of person who attracts opportunities rather than chases them. People around me changed. My environment changed. And eventually, my income changed. When you protect your time, you protect your destiny. Now let me take you deeper, because these habits did not only make me wealthier, they made me calmer, clearer, more powerful inside. There was a night, I remember it so vividly, when I sat alone reflecting on my journey. The room was silent, the world asleep. I looked back at the old version of myself, the one who lived in fear, confusion, survival mode, and I whispered, almost with a smile, "Look how far. You've come." I realized something profound that night. Success is never an explosion. It's a quiet accumulation of days where you chose discipline over desire, clarity over chaos, purpose over pleasure. But there is still more to this story. The emotional part, the struggles, the turning points that shaped everything that happened after these habits began. If you're ready to go deeper into the heart of the journey, after those habits took root, life didn't suddenly become easy. In fact, the real test began. There were seasons where the world felt heavy, where investments moved slowly, businesses stumbled, and doubt crept in like a quiet thief. There were days I questioned every choice I'd made, days when I wondered if discipline was worth it, if patience was foolish, if all this effort would ever pay off. One memory is still carved into my mind. I had just experienced a painful financial loss. Not devastating, but enough to shake my confidence. I remember sitting in my small living room, hands clasped, staring at the numbers as they glowed on the screen. My stomach tightened, my heartbeat sharpened. I could almost hear my old fears whispering, "See, you're not cut out for this." But then something remarkable happened. Instead of collapsing into panic, I fell back on the habits I'd built. I breathed slowly, the same morning silence I had practiced daily. I reviewed my decisions with clarity, the same small daily improvements I had committed to. I delayed the urge to react emotionally, the same painful discipline I had been strengthening like a muscle. I studied how wealthy, wise people handled setbacks, and most of all, I protected my time. I didn't entertain fear-based conversations. I didn't let drama cloud my focus. And in that moment, I understood the real purpose of these habits. They were not designed to make me rich. They were designed to make me unshakable. Because once you become unshakable, The money eventually follows. Let me share another story, something deeply personal and very real. There was a period when I nearly gave up on a business idea. It wasn't growing, it wasn't making money. Every month was a battle. I was tired. One evening, a close friend told me, "Maybe it's time to quit. Maybe it's too late for you." Those words cut deep, but they also woke something inside me. I realized people will always project their limits onto your dreams. They're not trying to harm you. They're showing you the boundaries of their own courage. So I leaned into the habits again, day after day, step by step, quietly, consistently. I kept going, and eventually the business broke through, not suddenly, not magically, but through years of small decisions, small improvements, small sacrifices, repeated thousands of times. That business, the one they told me to give up on, became one of the strongest assets of my entire portfolio. It taught me something timeless. If you stay consistent long enough, your breakthrough loses its choice but to arrive. As the years passed, the 5 habits shaped my future in ways I never imagined. My investments grew, my confidence grew, my ability to make decisions with calm precision grew. My life slowly and quietly transformed. And the most beautiful part, there came a day, a very simple day, when I looked at my finances and realized I had crossed into millionaire territory, not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through daily discipline, daily clarity, daily patience, daily study, and daily protection of my time. Wealth didn't change who I was. It revealed who I had become. And now, dear listeners, you've heard the full 3-part journey, the habits, the struggles, the turning points, and the quiet transformation, beloved listeners. Let us bring this journey home. Me. You've walked with me through the silent beginnings, through discipline, through doubt, through the small habits that slowly built an extraordinary life. And now, at this final moment, I want to speak directly to the part of you that is tired, hopeful, searching, longing for a breakthrough, because whether you realize it or not, something inside you has already shifted. Something has awakened. Every person who becomes wealthy, truly wealthy, reaches a point where they understand a profound truth. Money is never the first transformation. The mind is. You may think the journey begins with numbers, plans, investments, goals, but no, it begins with the simple whisper inside you that says, I can become more than I am today. And the moment you believe that, even a little, your entire destiny starts to bend in your direction. In these past 3 parts, we explored the 5 daily habits that reshaped my life, but what truly matters now is what they can unlock in your life. So let me leave you with a conclusion that ties everything together. The mindset, the purpose, the emotional strength, the financial clarity, the quiet inner power that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary builders of wealth. Take a deep breath and let's reflect. There is a pattern woven through the story you've heard. Small daily actions, clear thoughts, simple improvements, patient decisions, protected time. None of these habits are glamorous. None will impress a crowd. No one will clap for you as you practice them. In fact, you may walk this path while others roll their eyes, underestimate you, or mock your consistency. But wealth is not built in the light. It is built in the quiet darkness where no one is watching. You see, most people chase results, but very few chase transformation. They want the million before they want the mindset. They want the rewards before the disciple line. They want the victory without the mindset that can sustain it. But life has a strange way of protecting you from blessings you are not yet prepared to carry. You cannot hold abundance with shaky hands. You cannot build freedom with chaotic habits. You cannot step into your future with a mindset trapped in your past. And this is why daily habits matter so deeply. They don't just change your income, they change your identity. Every morning you choose clarity, you become a person worthy of opportunity. Every day you improve your financial knowledge, you become a person worthy of wealth. Every moment you delay gratification, you become a person who can protect long-term prosperity. Every hour you study wise people, you become a person who thinks differently from the crowd. And every minute you guard your time, you become a person who respects the value of life itself. When you repeat these choices long enough, something magical happens. You stop trying to become successful. You evolve into someone who naturally attracts success. It is not luck. It is not fate. It is preparation meeting identity. Most people underestimate the power of one more day of discipline. They quit just before the tide turns. They walk away right when the soil beneath their feet starts to shift. But breakthroughs rarely announce themselves. They arrive quietly, after months or years of invisible work. Think back to the story you heard earlier, the business that everyone told me to abandon. From the outside, it looked hopeless. But breakthroughs do not reveal themselves in early chapters. They hide behind resilience. They test your patience. They demand a version of you that only persistence can build. And that is what I want you to truly understand. Your wealth is waiting on the other side of the person you are becoming. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not unworthy. You are simply in your compound building phase. The phase where the world cannot yet see your greatness because it is still forming quietly within you. And that's okay. All extraordinary lives begin in silence. Let me tell you a truth that wealthy people understand deeply. Success is not about intensity. It's about duration. Anyone can be motivated for a week. Anyone can work hard for a month. Anyone can show discipline for a short burst of time. But wealth belongs to those who can remain consistent for years, even when nothing seems to be changing. And that's where the 5 habits come back to you like old friends. They don't require talent. They don't require genius. They don't require perfect timing. They require only one thing: commitment. Commitment when you're tired. Commitment when you're discouraged. Commitment when the results are slow. Commitment when people doubt you. Commitment when you doubt yourself, because when you stay committed long enough, the world eventually bends to match your persistence. Now, take a moment and imagine your future self, the one who has stayed consistent with these 5 habits for years. How would that version of you think? How would they act? How would they make decisions? What kind of peace would they carry? What kind of freedom would they live with? That future self is real. That future self is alive. That future self is waiting for you. And the bridge that leads to that version is not built from big leaps, but from small, daily steps repeated with intention. Eventually, a day will come, just as it came for me, where you will look at your finances, your investments, your life, and realize that you have crossed into a new chapter, not because you were lucky, not because you were special, but because you were disciplined when others were distracted, patient when others were restless, focused when others were scattered, consistent when others were inconsistent. Your wealth will not surprise you. Your wealth will validate you. It will prove that your habits worked. It will prove that your patience mattered. It will prove that your sacrifices were worth it. It will prove that you did not give up on the person you were meant to become. And when that moment arrives, I want you to pause, breathe, and whisper to yourself the same words I once whispered late at night. Look how far you've come. You didn't just build wealth. You built character. You built clarity. You built inner peace. You built a mind capable of navigating abundance with wisdom and purpose. And in the end, that is the real victory. So as you leave this journey, or perhaps as you begin your own, carry this truth with you. Your habits shape your destiny. Your consistency shapes your success. Your patience shapes your wealth. And your inner peace shapes everything that follows. Walk with wisdom. Walk with purpose. Walk with calm confidence. The future is already opening for you.